Across vast stretches of the Soviet Union, winter brought temperatures that periodically dropped to -22 degrees Fahrenheit and below. In Siberian cities like Novosibirsk and Krasnoyarsk, temperatures could reach -40 degrees Fahrenheit during severe cold spells, while in Yakutsk, such extremes were routine. Yet public transportation never stopped. Buses continued their routes through frozen streets, moving workers to factories, students to schools, and families across cities where private car ownership remained uncommon. This daily operation, in conditions that would paralyze many modern transit systems, required vehicles engineered specifically for extreme cold. Soviet bus design reflected a straightforward calculation. Vehicles must function reliably when temperatures drop far below freezing. When metal becomes brittle, fluids thicken, and any failure of the heating system could endanger passengers. Engineers prioritized heat retention, mechanical simplicity, and components accessible for maintenance in harsh conditions. The buses that resulted were not elegant, but they worked. Cold climate bus design began with fundamental physics. Heat escapes through windows, doors, body panels, and any unsealed joints. Soviet engineers minimized these losses through double-glazed windows, rubber seals around door frames, and insulated body panels. Door placement mattered. Fewer doors meant fewer thermal breaks, though this slowed boarding and exit times. Heating systems drew warmth directly from the engine's cooling circuit. Hot coolant circulated through radiators mounted beneath passenger seats or along sidewalls, with fans distributing heated air throughout the cabin. This approach used no additional fuel beyond what powered the engine itself. Some models added autonomous heaters, small combustion units that could warm the interior before the engine started or supplement heat during idling. Engine accessibility presented another challenge. Mechanics needed to reach components quickly when buses failed to start at dawn in sub-zero temperatures. Front engine designs allowed easier access from outside the vehicle, though they channeled less heat toward passengers. Rear engine configurations delivered more warmth to the cabin, but complicated cold weather maintenance. Transmission choice affected winter operations significantly. Manual transmissions required cold-thickened gear oil and careful clutch work on icy roads. Hydro-mechanical automatic transmissions simplified driving in snow but demanded fluid warmers and consumed more fuel. Soviet planners selected different solutions for different contexts, balancing operational demands against regional conditions. The Icarus 280 represented large-scale urban transport adapted for cold climates. This articulated bus began production in Budapest in 1973 under cooperation agreements between socialist countries. Its three-axle design stretched 54 feet, accommodating approximately 35 seated passengers plus 113, standing for a total capacity of around 119 people in typical city configurations. In Soviet service, several engine configurations were used, with common variants, including a 6.95-liter Rabaman inline-six diesel engine producing 192 horsepower mounted beneath the floor of the front section. Power transferred through either a 5-speed manual gearbox or a 2-speed Praga hydraulic automatic transmission. All three axles rode on pneumatic air spring suspension with telescopic dampers, providing a smoother ride than the leaf spring systems common on smaller Soviet buses. The bus measured 16.5 meters long, 2.5 meters wide, and just over 3 meters tall, with a curb weight of approximately 12,200 kilograms. In Soviet cities, the Icarus 280 operated through winter, equipped with dual heating systems. The primary system used engine coolant circulated through fan heaters, while an independent auxiliary heater in the rear trailer section provided supplemental warmth. When properly maintained, this combination proved adequate for the vehicle's substantial interior volume. However, the articulated joint connecting the bus sections presented a persistent thermal weakness. Heat escaped where the two halves flexed, and passengers standing near the accordion section experienced noticeably colder conditions. Maintenance crews packed the joint with rubber seals and fabric curtains, but complete elimination of heat loss proved impossible. Fuel consumption ran approximately 18 to 19 liters per 100 kilometers at city speeds around 50 kilometers per hour, drawing from diesel tanks holding 400 to 500 liters. The top speed reached only about 63 kilometers per hour, adequate for urban routes, but limiting for any highway applications. Special winter versions featured extra insulation for deployment in the coldest Soviet regions. The KAVZ 685 served a different purpose entirely. Built at the Kurgan bus plant from 1971 to 1984, this small bus used the chassis of the GAZ 53A truck, designed specifically for rough rural roads. Its ZMZ 53A V8 gasoline engine displaced 4.254 liters and generated 120 horsepower at 3,200 RPM. A 4-speed manual transmission derived from the GAZ E53 truck drove the rear axle through a simple, maintainable drivetrain. Front and rear suspension used leaf springs on solid axles, providing high ground clearance of 265 millimeters, crucial for navigating unpaved roads in deep snow. The bus measured 6.6 meters long, 2.55 meters wide, and 3.03 meters tall with a 3.7-meter wheelbase. It provided 21 passenger seats plus the driver position, with total capacity around 28 people. Curb weight reached 4.08 tons, while gross weight topped out at 6.55 tons. The compact passenger compartment, accessed through a single side door, actually benefited cold weather operation. Less interior volume meant faster heating and reduced total heat loss. Under normal operating conditions, the engine-based coolant heater warmed the cabin adequately, even in extreme winter. A single 105-liter fuel tank fed the gasoline engine, which commonly consumed approximately 24 liters per 100 kilometers. In villages across Siberia and the Russian far north, the KAVZ 685 became the primary link to regional centers. Its simple mechanical systems, manual transmission, basic electrical components, minimal pneumatics, could be repaired by mechanics with general automotive knowledge rather than specialized training. A special Arctic variant, the KAVZ 685S, featured double-pane glass and a sealed driver's cab designed for severe Arctic conditions. The LAZ 695 claimed the longest production span of Soviet buses, manufactured from 1956 into the 1980s, with gradual modifications. This high-floor city bus positioned its engine at the rear beneath the passenger compartment. Early models used a 5.6-liter ZIL inline-six gasoline engine, producing 109 to 120 horsepower, while later versions upgraded to a 6.0-liter ZIL 130 V8, generating 150 horsepower. All versions employed a 5-speed manual transmission. The bus measured roughly 9.22 meters long, 2.5 meters wide, and 3.05 meters tall, riding on a 4.19-meter wheelbase. Curb weight varied by model from 6.3 to 6.8 tons. Passenger seating ranged from 30 to 34 seats, with standing room bringing total urban capacity to 50 to 60 people. The rear engine configuration created an unintended benefit during winter. Engine heat rose directly into the cabin, making the rear seating area significantly warmer than the front. Passengers quickly learned that the back seats provided refuge from cold, while the front remained chilly, despite heating ducts. The LAZ 695's manual transmission and relatively straightforward mechanics made it maintainable across the Soviet Union's diverse depot facilities. Its high floor complicated boarding in deep snow, but the design prioritized durability over convenience. Over 250,000 units were built, making it one of the most widespread Soviet bus designs. These buses operated in cities from Lviv to Vladivostok, adapting to local conditions through minor modifications in heating capacity and electrical systems. The Liaz 677 entered production in 1967 at the Likhino-Dulyovo plant near Moscow and became perhaps the most recognizable Soviet city bus. Its front-mounted ZIL V8 gasoline engine displaced approximately 6.96 liters and produced 180 horsepower. The bus pioneered the use of a two-speed hydromechanical automatic transmission, the first Soviet city bus with an automatic gearbox. This innovation simplified operation in traffic and on slippery winter roads, eliminating the need for manual clutch work on ice. However, the automatic transmission reduced fuel efficiency dramatically. The Liaz 677 became notorious for often consuming 30 to 40 liters of gasoline per 100 kilometers, far exceeding the already high consumption of manual transmission buses. The bus measured 10.565 meters long, 2.5 meters wide, and 3.033 meters tall, riding on a 5.15-meter wheelbase. Curb weight reached 8.363 tons. Passenger capacity topped out around 110 people, with typically 25 to 30 seated and the remainder standing. For cold weather operation, the Liaz 677 relied on engine coolant radiators with fans, creating uneven temperature distribution throughout the cabin. Insulation remained minimal, making cold starts challenging and cabin warmth variable depending on maintenance and operating conditions. Despite these limitations, by the 1980s, the Liaz 677 operated in almost every Soviet city. Its automatic transmission made it the preferred choice for urban trunk routes where stop-and-go traffic would exhaust drivers operating manual transmissions. The trade-off between fuel consumption and operational convenience favored the automatic in high-density urban environments. The KAVZ 672, produced from 1967 to 1989, served suburban and intercity routes where larger buses proved uneconomical. Built on a GAZ 53 truck chassis, it featured a front-mounted 4.25-liter ZMZ Phi-8 gasoline engine, producing 115 horsepower. Power transferred through a 4-speed manual transmission derived from the truck platform. The bus measured 7.15 meters long, 2.44 meters wide, and 2.95 meters tall, with a 3.6-meter wheelbase. Ground clearance of 280 millimeters allowed operation on rough rural roads. Curb weight reached 4,535 kilograms, while gross weight topped 7,825 kilograms. It seated 23 passengers plus a conductor position with nominal capacity of 45 people at urban density. Dual 105-liter fuel tanks provided 210 liters total capacity, necessary given consumption, often cited at 20 to 24 liters per 100 kilometers. Entry and exit occurred through a single front-side door with a folding step. In typical service, heating relied on engine coolant circulated through a heavy radiator, supplemented by optional insulated glazing. This combination kept the compact interior warm even in severe winter conditions. Regional transit authorities deployed KAVZ 672 buses on routes connecting satellite towns to urban centers, where passengers might spend 30 to 60 minutes aboard during winter commutes. A special Arctic variant, the KAVZ 672S, added double-pane windows and driver cabin isolation modified for operation in extreme Arctic temperatures. These different bus types operated simultaneously across Soviet cities and regions, creating a layered transportation network. Major urban centers relied on articulated Icarus buses and large-capacity Liaz models for trunk routes carrying the heaviest passenger flows. Medium-sized cities used LAZ and smaller Liaz buses on primary streets, Rural areas and intercity connections depended on PAZ and KAVZ vehicles. No single design solved all problems. The Icarus provided high capacity but lost heat at its articulation point. The KAVZ offered mechanical simplicity but cramped passengers. The LAZ heated unevenly. The Liaz consumed excessive fuel. The PAZ moved fewer people than urban routes demanded. Yet collectively, these vehicles enabled year-round public transportation across climate zones where winter temperatures regularly reached extremes. Depot facilities maintained buses through winter with specialized procedures. Engines received block heaters that kept coolant warm overnight, allowing reliable starts at dawn when temperatures bottomed out. Battery banks provided starting power boosted beyond standard specifications. Driver training emphasized cold weather techniques, allowing engines to warm before engaging transmissions, managing brake application on ice, and recognizing early signs of heating system failure. A bus losing heat at -40 degrees Fahrenheit became a safety emergency within minutes, requiring immediate return to depot. The buses used in the Soviet Union demonstrate how public transport systems adapted to operate under severe climatic conditions. Their designs prioritized reliability and heat retention, enabling millions of daily journeys during winter months when temperatures fell to levels that would disable vehicles not specifically engineered for such operation. In cities where private vehicles remained scarce and walking outdoors in extreme cold proved dangerous. Within minutes, these buses provided the essential infrastructure for continuous urban mobility. Their consistent operation was not merely convenient, but necessary, maintaining the daily movement of populations through the coldest inhabited regions on Earth.